Morning world, it's Monday the 28th of December 2020, it's about 11 a.m. in the morning UK time. This is a heads up on the early part of 2021. I spent much of yesterday with my head buried in my ephemeris. Ephemeris. For those of you that don't know, ephemeris. An ephemeris is like a bus timetable. You've got the dates of each month, and across the top you've got a list of each planet and its daily positions. So you've got this is a book. This is an ephemeris for 50 years. You can get them for 100 years. You can get them for 1 year. But it shows you the daily position of each planet. And when you know the daily position of each planet, you can then build the map of what the horoscope for that moment in time looks like. It sounds complicated. It's not. So I've been looking at my ephemeris all day yesterday, building the kind of forecasts for next year, because I am going to be doing my yearly forecast for each sign of the zodiac in the next few days, and they will be live before the end of the year. But whilst doing this, I was aware that over this last year I've been saying to a lot of people, yes, this current storm that we're in is going to last until mid-February, and indeed in many people's charts I've been saying that the hardest time of 2021 is going to be over in terms of large-scale long-term influences by the time we're into mid-February. Now, having spent all day yesterday looking at what's coming up next year in more detail, I'm going to refine that statement, and I'm just going to talk briefly about what's coming up in the next month or two. I realise that what I'm going to say is going to be against current both medical opinion and popular opinion. But at the end of the day, I have to remain true to my own ideas, philosophies and beliefs, which are intrinsically linked with astrology. And I can safely say, in my personal opinion, that I got it slightly wrong with that forecast around mid-February, and it's actually earlier. I think that for the majority of the world, by the time we're into the end of January 2021, the hardest time of the year is over. Now, I need to qualify that. There are a number of situations coming up next year which are going to be very difficult for a lot of people. As always, a few people are going to get really hammered next year, but that's always the case. And there are going to be a few major trigger points next year which are going to affect both the globe and certain people very specifically. But at a large scale, in a generalised overview form, by the time we're into the end of January, the crises and traumas, if you like, of 2021 at the personal level, for all of us individually, for 90% of people, it's over by the end of January. However, during January, it's going to get really messy, particularly in the second week of January. And the global lockdown that's going on now is only going to get worse in the short term. And I expect situations to get a little bit out of hand around the start of the second week of January. And I'm saying this to you people out there so that you've got a heads up. So that if you start seeing things going really badly wrong at the start of the second week of January, you know there's an astrological parallel here. And that if astrology works, and to most of you it does, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching me, then you know that it's going to be a bit of a storm in a teacup, or the peak of a mountain, or something, some other type of allegory. And then the results are going to take through to the end of January to develop. And then during February, during the first 2 to 3 weeks of February, we do have a Mercury retrograde. And it's going to be a bit of a difficult retrograde, especially as it's going to be spending a lot of that time conjuncting Jupiter, still amplifying things. But that will be the storm in the teacup effect. That will be the over-exaggeration. It's like the hardcore surgery will be done in January. February will be the post-op and the recovery period, but the recovery will take a bit longer than we think. But the more we get into late February and early March, there's very clear signs astrologically that the things are going to be moving forward, and we're seeing a lot more brightness, a lot more, a lot less stress, a lot more light. But the next 2 or 3 weeks from now, where are we now? We're about the 28th, right? So the next 2 weeks through to about the 10th, 11th of January, it's not going to be easy at all. So this is a time of year. There's a lot of parallels now, right now, to the period at the very end of 1999 and the start of 2000, where there was a great deal of celebration and hope and optimism, which was, it's just down to the numerology. But underneath that, there was a lot of people getting very, very depressed, and a lot of people took the way out around the end of the millennium. A lot of people killed themselves. And there is that similar type of energy around and now. And I'm well aware in my personal sphere of operations of how many people in this last couple of weeks are suffering from seriously big traumas of people dying, basically. Whether it be through COVID or other forms of illness, or it's just, I'm not going to go into details. There's some pretty serious stuff going on out there, and it's very easy at this time, especially in the northern hemisphere, where the light hours are very short at the moment and it's cold, for people to be getting very depressed, despondent, despairing. So it's worth reaching out the hand of friendship to those in your family, in your friends, whom you may not be heard of, especially to those people who are alone, because sometimes just a friendly voice can really make a difference. But look, this next 2 weeks is probably the toughest period of this next 12 months. So let's get through this, and I honestly feel that by then we'll be starting to hope again for the future. And by the end of January, we'll all be feeling a little bit more battered than we already are, but there will be clear signs of potential optimism and hope. By mid-February, these are going to be becoming established. By the end of February, they're on the table. And next year, for 90% of people, is looking pretty good. I'll come back to this in detail with those people who are looking good and who aren't looking good in a few days' time when I post my yearly videos, which will not be until the 31st of December. I like keeping people in suspense. All right, it's going to take me that long to get them done anyway. Until then, keep hanging in there. I'll try and do another video tomorrow. Catch you later, world. Bye.